Agricultural history isn't just about sensible machines doing predictable work. Sometimes engineers got creative, inventors got ambitious, and manufacturers got downright strange. Today, we're counting down the 12 weirdest vintage tractors you've never seen before. Machines that defied convention, challenged expectations, and proved that farming equipment could be as bizarre as it was functional. From screw-propelled snow machines to tractors with rotating cabs, these aren't your grandfather's ordinary farm equipment. These are the oddities, the experiments, and the wild ideas that prove agricultural engineering has always had room for the extraordinary. Number 12. Fordson Snow Motor. The Fordson snow motor from the 1920s looked like something from a science fiction story rather than a practical farming implement. Ford engineers took a standard Fordson tractor and replaced the rear wheels with enormous screw-shaped cylinders that propelled the machine through snow and mud by rotating like giant corkscrews. The concept seemed absurd, luo xuan tui jin instead of conventional wheels or tracks, but in deep snow and thick mud, where normal tractors became helplessly stuck, the snow motor churned forward with surprising effectiveness. The four-cylinder gasoline engine produced around 20 horsepower, the same power as standard Fordsons, but instead of turning wheels or tracks, that power rotated the massive screw cylinders that bit into soft surfaces and pulled the tractor forward through material that would stop conventional machines. The screws measured several feet in diameter and ran the entire length where rear wheels normally mounted. The rotating action created a swimming or boring motion that moved the snow motor through conditions no wheeled tractor could navigate. Ford marketed the snow motor primarily for logging operations in northern forests, where deep snow made conventional transportation impossible during winter months. The machine could haul loads through snow that would strand trucks or horses, opening up winter logging when traditional operations shut down. The snow motor also found use in swampy areas, where the screw's large surface area distributed weight effectively, allowing work in bogs and marshes that conventional equipment couldn't access. The applications were specialized, but for those specific conditions, nothing else worked as effectively. The snow motor's appearance was genuinely bizarre. The massive screw cylinders rotating behind a conventional Fordson front end looked like engineering madness rather than practical equipment. The screws threw snow and mud dramatically as they rotated, creating spectacular rooster tails of material. The noise was distinctive. The screws churning through material created sounds unlike anything else in agricultural or industrial equipment. Everything about the snow motor seemed strange until you watched it work through conditions that stopped everything else. Ford built relatively few snow motors because the applications were so specialized. Most farmers worked on solid ground, where conventional tractors were more practical and economical. The snow motor remained a niche product for extreme conditions, but those who needed to work in deep snow or thick mud found the snow motor invaluable, proving that sometimes the weirdest solutions are the most effective. Today, surviving snow motors are extremely rare and highly collectible, representing Ford's willingness to pursue unconventional engineering when applications demanded it. Number 11. Rumely oil pull. The Rumely oil pull from 1909 through 1930 became legendary for its weird appearance and strange exhaust sound. While competitors used conventional water-cooled engines, Rumely developed oil cooling that required massive external cooling towers that made the oil pull look like industrial equipment rather than agricultural machinery. The cooling towers stood tall above the engine, giving the oil pull a distinctive profile that was instantly recognizable and undeniably odd. But beneath that strange appearance lived genuine engineering innovation that proved Rumely's unconventional thinking was actually brilliant. The kerosene-powered engines produced between 20 and 40 horsepower, depending on model, delivered through motors that used oil for both cooling and lubrication. The system circulated oil through the engine block to absorb heat, then pumped it through the massive external cooling towers where it released heat to atmosphere before returning to the engine. The towers featured internal baffles that increased surface area and improved cooling efficiency. The entire system seemed unnecessarily complicated compared to simple water cooling, but it provided crucial advantages that eventually won over skeptical farmers. The oil pull's exhaust sound was distinctive and strange, a deep, rhythmic thumping that sounded more like a steam engine than an internal combustion motor. The low RPM, or revolutions per minute operation, and massive displacement created exhaust pulses that were felt as much as heard. Farmers could identify an oil pull working from miles away just by its unique sound signature. The slow-turning engines produced that characteristic rhythmic thump, thump, thump that became the oil pull's auditory trademark. As recognizable as its visual oddness, the oil pull's appearance was industrial and utilitarian rather than agricultural. The massive cooling towers dominated the profile, and the robust construction made it look more suited for factory duty than field work. The engines were painted in Rumely's distinctive gray-green color scheme that further emphasized the machine's industrial character. Everything about the oil pull looked strange compared to conventional tractors, but farmers who actually used them discovered the advantages outweighed the oddness. The oil cooling system never froze in winter, eliminating the constant concern about freezing coolant that plagued water-cooled tractors. The higher operating temperature meant more efficient combustion and better fuel economy. The oil lubricated while cooling, reducing engine wear. These practical advantages gradually overcame the oil pull's weird reputation, and by the 1920s, it had earned respect as rugged, economical equipment. Today, oil pulls are among the most collectible antique tractors because their unusual engineering and distinctive appearance make them genuinely unique pieces of agricultural history. Number 10. Thieman Tractor. The Thieman tractor from the 1930s represented one of agricultural history's weirdest concepts, a tractor sold as a kit for farmers to assemble themselves. Most manufacturers built complete tractors in factories, but Thieman believed farmers could save money by doing final assembly. The company supplied a frame, transmission, rear end, and detailed instructions. Farmers provided their own Ford Model A engines and completed assembly in their own workshops. The concept seemed strange, but during the Depression, when money was scarce and farmers were mechanically skilled, the Thieman kit made economic sense. The Ford Model A engine provided around 40 horsepower when farmers mounted it in the Thieman frame. The Model A was readily available, relatively inexpensive, and familiar to most farmers who'd worked on Model A cars. Thieman designed the frame to accept the engine easily and provided detailed instructions, showing exactly how to mount it and connect all systems. The transmission and rear end came pre-assembled from Thieman, so farmers mainly needed to mount the engine, connect fuel and electrical systems, add wheels, and perform final adjustments. The Thieman's appearance varied depending on how individual farmers completed assembly. Some built minimal utilitarian machines focused purely on function. Others added operator platforms, fenders, and bodywork that made their Thiemans look more finished. No two Thiemans looked identical because farmers had freedom to customize during assembly. This variety made Thiemans visually distinctive. You could usually identify a Thieman by its home-built character and unique details that reflected individual builders' preferences and skills. The basic Thieman frame and mechanical components provided a consistent foundation, but everything else was subject to individual interpretation and available materials. Farmers with welding skills often fabricated custom operator platforms, with seats salvaged from old automobiles or farm equipment, creating comfortable positions for long days in the field. Some builders added homemade fenders, using salvaged sheet metal to protect themselves from mud and debris thrown by the wheels during operation. The fuel tanks varied wildly. Some farmers used original Ford Model A tanks, while others fabricated custom tanks from whatever materials they had available in their workshops. Creative builders sometimes added toolboxes, storage compartments, or equipment holders that made their Thiemans more versatile for their specific farming operations. The paint schemes reflected individual preferences, ranging from no paint at all on bare metal to careful applications of whatever colors farmers had in their barns. Some Thiemans featured hand-painted identification numbers or farm names, personalizing the machines in ways factory-built tractors never allowed. The exhaust systems were particularly varied, with some farmers using straight pipes, while others fabricated elaborate exhaust routing based on available materials and preferences. The steering wheels came from various sources. Some Thiemans used Ford automobile wheels, others featured steering wheels from different vehicles or implements, creating another element of visual variety. The tire choices reflected availability and budget, with some Thiemans running on steel wheels, while others featured whatever rubber tires farmers could acquire or afford. The overall build quality varied enormously depending on individual farmers' mechanical skills, available tools, and attention to detail during assembly. Some Thiemans were crude but functional machines thrown together quickly to get working, while others were carefully crafted with attention to detail that rivaled factory-built tractors. This incredible variety meant that Thieman tractors at farm gatherings today never look alike, each one telling a unique story about the farmer who built it and the Depression-era circumstances that made home assembly necessary and practical. The kit concept appealed to farmers during the Depression who needed tractors but couldn't afford factory-built equipment. The Thieman cost significantly less than complete tractors, and farmers appreciated the opportunity to build their own equipment rather than depending on manufacturers. The assembly process also meant farmers thoroughly understood their tractors because they'd built them, making maintenance and repairs straightforward. The weird kit concept actually made practical sense for its target market. Thieman sold relatively few kits because the Depression limited all tractor sales, and most farmers preferred factory-built equipment when they could afford it. The company disappeared when economic conditions improved and farmers returned to buying conventional tractors. Today, surviving Thiemans are extremely rare because few were built and many got scrapped when they wore out. Finding a genuine Thieman is discovering a weird piece of Depression-era ingenuity, when farmers were willing to build their own tractors to save money. Number 9. Cletrac Model F. The Cletrac Model F from 1919 looked genuinely weird to farmers accustomed to wheeled tractors. This compact crawler tractor featured continuous tracks instead of wheels, creating a squat, tank-like appearance that seemed more military than agricultural. Cleveland Tractor Company, Cletrac for short, believed crawlers provided superior traction and flotation compared to wheels, but convincing farmers to accept such radically different machines required extensive demonstrations. The Model F's strange appearance initially repelled more farmers than it attracted. The four-cylinder gasoline engine produced 15 horsepower, modest power that the tracks made remarkably effective. The continuous tracks distributed weight over large surface area, reducing ground pressure and preventing the Model F from sinking in soft soil. The tracks also provided superior traction compared to steel wheels, allowing the Model F to work effectively in conditions that would stop wheeled tractors. Cletrac understood that for specific applications, particularly orchards, hillsides, and soft soil, crawlers offered genuine advantages despite their weird appearance. The Model F was compact and maneuverable, despite using tracks. Cletrac designed the crawler system for agricultural work rather than military applications, creating tracks that could turn tightly and navigate orchard rows or terraced hillsides. The controls were straightforward. Levers operated clutches for each track, allowing the operator to steer by slowing or stopping individual sides. The system worked effectively once operators learned it, but farmers accustomed to steering wheels found the track controls strange and awkward initially. The Model F's appearance was undeniably odd. The squat profile, continuous tracks, and lack of conventional wheels made it look like military equipment rather than farming machinery. The tracks clattered and clanked as the Model F moved, creating distinctive sounds unlike wheeled tractors. Everything about the Model F seemed weird to farmers expecting conventional equipment, but orchardists and hillside farmers discovered the Model F could work where wheeled tractors struggled, making the weird appearance acceptable when capability justified it. Cletrac built the Model F in modest numbers because crawler tractors remained niche products for specialized applications. Most farmers worked on solid ground where wheeled tractors were more practical, but the Model F established crawlers as viable agricultural equipment, leading to larger crawler models that became important in agriculture and construction. Today, Model Fs are collectible because they represent early crawler development and because their weird appearance makes them distinctive among vintage tractors. Number 8. Lanz Bulldog. The Lanz Bulldog from Germany, built between 1921 and 1955, was genuinely one of the weirdest tractors ever created. The single-cylinder hot-bulb diesel engine was unlike anything built by American manufacturers. One enormous piston, massive displacement, and extremely low RPM operation that created distinctive sounds and personality. The Bulldog looked strange, sounded stranger, and operated in ways that seemed impossibly crude. Yet it became beloved throughout Europe, proving that weird doesn't mean ineffective. The single-cylinder engine produced around 45 horsepower from displacement, measured in liters rather than cubic inches. The massive piston rose and fell slowly, around 600 to 700 RPM at operating speed, creating a distinctive slow heartbeat rhythm. The hot bulb ignition system used a preheated chamber rather than conventional injection, requiring the operator to heat the bulb with a blowtorch before starting. The starting procedure was complicated and dangerous, involving heating the bulb, engaging a heavy flywheel, and hoping the engine fired without kicking back violently. The Bulldog's exhaust sound was legendary, a deep, slow boom, boom, boom that could be heard for miles. Each exhaust stroke created a distinctive explosion that gave the Bulldog its name. The tractor literally sounded like a bulldog's bark amplified to mechanical proportions. The sound was so distinctive that European farmers could identify bulldogs working distant fields just by their exhaust note. The single-cylinder engine also produced substantial vibration that shook the entire tractor with each power stroke, creating a riding experience unlike any multi-cylinder tractor. The Bulldog's appearance was industrial and utilitarian. The massive engine dominated the design, and the robust construction made it look more like industrial machinery than refined agricultural equipment. The Bulldog was tall, narrow, and ungainly compared to sleek American tractors. Everything about it seemed crude and outdated, even when new. But European farmers appreciated the Bulldog's simplicity, reliability, and fuel efficiency. The single-cylinder engine was nearly indestructible and could run on cheap fuels that sophisticated engines couldn't tolerate. Lanz built hundreds of thousands of Bulldogs over 3 decades, making them common throughout Europe. The weird single-cylinder design that seemed impossibly crude actually worked brilliantly for European conditions, where simplicity and fuel economy mattered more than sophistication. Today, Bulldogs are cult classics among European collectors who appreciate their distinctive personality. The Bulldog proved that weird engineering can be exactly right for specific markets and conditions. Number 7. International Harvester, HT340. The International Harvester HT340 from 1961 represented one of the weirdest experiments in tractor history, replacing the conventional piston engine with a gas turbine. IH believed turbines offered advantages, including lighter weight, fewer moving parts, and potential for higher power from smaller packages. The HT340's futuristic styling matched its advanced propulsion, creating a tractor that looked like science fiction rather than practical farming equipment. The entire concept seemed impossibly weird for agriculture. The gas turbine produced around 85 horsepower, adequate power delivered through a propulsion system that seemed more appropriate for jet aircraft than tractors. The turbine spun at extremely high RPM, tens of thousands rather than the few thousand RPM conventional engines used, requiring complex gearing to reduce speed for useful work. The turbine ran smoothly without the vibration piston engines produced, and it could use various fuels from diesel to kerosene to jet fuel. The technology was genuinely advanced, but completely inappropriate for agricultural applications. The HT340's appearance was startlingly futuristic. The streamlined bodywork enclosed the turbine and mechanical systems, creating smooth, space-age styling unlike any contemporary tractor. The air intake and exhaust systems required special ducting that gave the HT340 a distinctive profile. Everything about the machine looked advanced and weird, more concept car than working tractor. IH clearly designed the HT340 to showcase technology rather than build practical farming equipment. The turbine's disadvantages became obvious during testing. Fuel consumption was horrendous. Turbines are inefficient at the varying loads and speeds agricultural work requires. The high operating temperatures created maintenance challenges. The complex gearing required to reduce turbine speed to useful levels added weight and complexity. The initial cost was astronomical compared to conventional tractors. Foreign object damage from dust and debris could destroy the turbine instantly. Every practical consideration argued against turbine tractors. IH built only 1 or 2 HT340 prototypes before abandoning the concept. The turbine tractor made impressive press releases, but terrible farming equipment. The weird experiment proved that advanced technology isn't always appropriate technology. Sometimes conventional piston engines are exactly right, because they're robust, economical, and proven. Today, the surviving HT340 is a museum piece, representing IH's ambitious but misguided attempt to revolutionize tractor propulsion. The HT340 remains one of the weirdest tractors ever built precisely because it was so impractical. Number 6. Case 150 steam traction engine. The Case 150 steam traction engine from 1876 was weird, not through unconventional design, but through sheer overwhelming size. This massive steam-powered machine produced 150 horsepower, when most farms still used horses. The towering boiler, enormous drive wheels, and locomotive-like proportions made the 150 look absurdly oversized for agricultural work. It was weird through excess, engineering pushed to extremes that seemed unnecessary and impractical for farming. The steam engine used a massive boiler feeding a multi-cylinder steam motor that produced staggering power for 1876. The boiler stood taller than a person, and the entire machine weighed many tons. The drive wheels were enormous to handle the power and weight. Operating the 150 required skills more appropriate for railroads than farms, managing boiler pressure, monitoring steam systems, and controlling the massive machine safely. Everything about it was oversized and intimidating. The 150's appearance was genuinely weird because of its scale. It looked more like a small locomotive than agricultural equipment. The towering boiler dominated the profile, and the massive wheels dwarfed the operator. Clouds of steam and smoke surrounded the machine during operation, adding to its impressive but strange presence. Everything about the 150 suggested industrial might rather than agricultural practicality. It was weird through sheer overwhelming presence. Case built the 150 for specialized applications like powering sawmills and moving extremely heavy loads rather than conventional farming. The machine proved steam power could scale to meet any demand, but it was too large, too expensive, and too complex for normal agricultural work. Only one survives today, testament to how impractical such extreme machines were. The 150 existed at the intersection of impressive engineering and ridiculous excess. The surviving 150 is a museum treasure representing steam power at its most extreme. The machine is weird not through unconventional design, but through scale that exceeded any practical agricultural need. Case built the future 70 years before agriculture required such power, creating something simultaneously impressive and absurd. Today, the 150 reminds us that engineering ambition sometimes exceeds practical application, creating machines that are genuinely weird through sheer excess. Number 5. Massey Ferguson 97. The Massey Ferguson 97 from the 1960s was weird primarily because it was so rare compared to mainstream MF models. This massive articulated tractor featured a GM Detroit diesel engine, producing 141 horsepower, substantial power delivered through an articulated chassis that was uncommon for Massey Ferguson. The company typically focused on conventional tractors, making the 97 an oddity in their lineup. The weird aspect was seeing Massey Ferguson badges on such a large, unconventional machine. The Detroit diesel engine delivered smooth, powerful performance, with the distinctive sound two-stroke Detroit motors produced, a high-pitched whine, mixed with diesel clatter that was instantly recognizable. The articulated chassis provided excellent traction and maneuverability despite the machine's size. Massey Ferguson engineered the 97 for large-scale operations needing substantial power, targeting a market segment the company rarely served. The result was competent but strange, within MF's typical product range. The 97's appearance was purposeful, but unusual for Massey Ferguson. The articulated design, large size, and powerful engine seemed more appropriate for brands like Steiger or Versatile that specialized in large tractors. Seeing Massey Ferguson's familiar red and silver paint on such a large, articulated machine looked wrong to farmers, accustomed to MF's conventional tractors. The 97 was weird, primarily through incongruity, capable equipment wearing unexpected badges. Massey Ferguson built relatively few 97s because the company's strength was conventional tractors rather than large articulated machines. The 97 competed against specialists who understood large tractor markets better than MF. Sales remained modest, and production ended quickly. The 97 became a footnote in Massey Ferguson history, a weird experiment that proved the company was better serving mainstream agriculture than competing in specialized segments. Today, 97s are rare because few were built and most got worked hard until they wore out. Finding a surviving 97 means discovering a weird piece of Massey Ferguson history. When the company briefly competed in markets outside its expertise, the 97 proves that capable equipment can still be weird when it doesn't match expectations about what a company should build. Number 4. Zetor Crystal 8011. The Zetor Crystal 8011 from Czechoslovakia in 1968 looked genuinely weird with its boxy, futuristic styling that seemed decades ahead of contemporary tractors. While Western manufacturers built tractors with rounded, conventional styling, Zetor created the Crystal with angular sheet metal and flat surfaces that looked more science fiction than agriculture. The entire design seemed strange and unfamiliar, yet it became a cult classic throughout Eastern Europe. where its weird appearance was appreciated rather than questioned. The four-cylinder diesel engine produced 80 horsepower, adequate power delivered through conventional mechanical systems wrapped in unconventional bodywork. Zetor engineered the Crystal competently, with reliable components and straightforward operation. The weird aspect was purely visual. The Crystal worked like conventional tractors, but looked completely different. The boxy styling featured flat panels, sharp angles, and geometric forms that seemed futuristic compared to Western tractors' curved, organic shapes. The Crystal's cab design was particularly distinctive. The angular glass and flat roof created a greenhouse-like operator station that provided excellent visibility, but looked strange compared to rounded Western cabs. The instrumentation and controls were logically arranged and functional, but the overall aesthetic seemed alien to anyone accustomed to John Deere or International Harvester styling. Everything about the Crystal's appearance challenged expectations about how tractors should look. Zetor built the Crystal primarily for Eastern European markets, where the distinctive styling was accepted and even appreciated. The tractor worked effectively despite its weird appearance, proving that unconventional styling didn't compromise functionality. The Crystal's weird looks became its defining characteristic. Farmers either loved the distinctive styling or found it absurdly ugly. There was no middle ground with Crystal aesthetics. Today, Crystals are cult classics among Eastern European collectors who appreciate their unique styling and historical significance. The weird, boxy appearance that seemed strange in 1968 now looks retro-futuristic, giving Crystals distinctive character that conventional tractors lack. The Crystal proved that tractors don't need conventional styling to be effective, and that weird design can become beloved when given time. Number 3. Oliver 2 Plus 2 Series. The Oliver 2 Plus 2 Series from the 1970s was genuinely one of the weirdest looking tractors ever built. The articulated design featured a bent configuration that looked wrong compared to conventional tractors. The cab was positioned strangely, the articulation point was visible and prominent, and the entire proportions seemed awkward and unbalanced. Everything about the 2+2 looked weird, and the handling was equally strange, making it genuinely odd in both appearance and operation. The six-cylinder diesel engine produced between 150 and 180 horsepower, substantial power delivered through a chassis that confused everyone who looked at it. The articulation point positioned the cab differently than conventional tractors, creating an appearance that violated farmers' expectations about proper tractor proportions. The bent frame made the 2+2 look broken or assembled incorrectly, even when working perfectly. The weird appearance guaranteed attention, but not the positive kind Oliver hoped for. The cab position created visibility and ride quality issues that compounded the weird appearance. Operators sat over the articulation point, where frame flex transmitted directly to the cab, creating a rough, uncomfortable ride. The weird positioning also created blind spots and made backing up difficult. Everything about operating the 2+2 felt wrong to farmers, accustomed to conventional tractors. The weird looks were matched by weird handling that never felt natural. Oliver marketed the 2+2 aggressively, but farmers rejected the weird design despite its technical capabilities. The bent appearance simply looked wrong, and the awkward handling confirmed farmers' visual impressions. Sales disappointed despite Oliver's substantial investment in developing and marketing the 2+2. The weird design became a liability rather than an advantage, proving that conventional styling exists for good reasons. Today, 2+2 tractors are relatively rare because Oliver built limited numbers before abandoning the concept. Surviving examples are collectible precisely because they're so weird. They represent Oliver's ambitious but misguided attempt to revolutionize tractor design. The 2+2 proves that weird looks and weird handling together create machines that farmers reject regardless of technical capability. Sometimes weird is just wrong. Number 2. Big Bud 16 VIF 747. The Big Bud 16 VIF 747 from 1977 is weird through sheer overwhelming size. This massive machine stands as the largest farm tractor ever built, powered by a 16-cylinder Detroit diesel engine, producing between 1,100 and 1,350 horsepower. The proportions are absurd. The tires alone stand taller than a person, and the entire machine weighs over 100,000 pounds. The Big Bud is weird because it pushes tractor design to extremes that seem impossible, creating something that looks unreal. The 16-cylinder engine is a monster, a massive V-configuration Detroit diesel that produces sounds and power on scales most farmers never experience. The engine alone weighs thousands of pounds and displaces over 1,000 cubic inches. The fuel consumption is measured in gallons per hour rather than miles per gallon, and the operational costs are staggering. Everything about the Big Bud's propulsion system is excessive, but the massive power allows covering enormous acreage quickly. The Big Bud's appearance is genuinely shocking. The sheer size makes it look fake or exaggerated, like something from a cartoon rather than real equipment. The massive tires, enormous articulated frame, and towering operator cab create proportions that seem impossible. Seeing the Big Bud in person is shocking because photographs cannot capture how overwhelmingly large it actually is. Everything about the Big Bud is weird through scale that exceeds expectations. The Big Bud was custom-built for large-scale farming operations, needing to cover thousands of acres as quickly as possible. The machine worked effectively in its specific application, justifying the enormous cost and operational expenses through productivity. But only one was built because the applications requiring such extreme capability were so rare. The Big Bud exists alone, too specialized and expensive to replicate. Today, the Big Bud is a celebrity among agricultural equipment, famous for being the largest and most powerful farm tractor ever built. It tours shows and draws crowds amazed by its impossible size. The Big Bud is weird through excess that pushed tractor design beyond practical limits, creating something genuinely unique. It proves that agricultural equipment can be as weird and extreme as any other machines humans build when specific applications demand it. Number 1. Claas Xerion early prototypes. The early Claas Xerion prototypes from Germany take the top position because of their genuinely weird, rotating cab design. Claas believed that allowing the operator cab to rotate 180 degrees would revolutionize tractor versatility, letting operators face implements and providing perfect visibility during all operations. The concept was brilliant but looked absolutely bizarre. Watching the cab rotate independently from the chassis violated every expectation about how tractors should operate, creating something genuinely weird that challenged fundamental assumptions. The Mercedes-Benz diesel engines in early prototypes produced between 400 and 500 horsepower, massive power delivered through a chassis designed to work in either direction equally effectively. The 4 equal-size wheels and sophisticated suspension allowed the Xerion to operate with the cab facing forward or backward, making front and rear conceptually interchangeable. The rotating mechanism was complex and expensive, but it provided capabilities conventional tractors couldn't match. The rotating cab transformed how operators worked. During mowing or loading operations, the cab rotated so operators faced the implement, providing perfect visibility and control. During transport, the cab rotated to face the road ahead. The versatility was genuine, but watching the cab rotate while the chassis remained stationary looked genuinely weird. The movement violated expectations about fixed operator positions, creating visual confusion that made the Xerion memorable. Early Xerion prototypes looked even weirder than production models because Claas was still refining the design. The proportions seemed wrong, the cab rotation mechanism was prominent and mechanical, and the entire concept seemed impossibly complicated for agricultural work. Farmers seeing early Xerions questioned whether the complexity was justified, whether the rotating cab would prove reliable, and whether such radical design was necessary. The weird appearance guaranteed attention, both positive and negative. Claas refined the Xerion through multiple iterations, eventually producing versions that gained market acceptance. The rotating cab proved genuinely useful for specific applications, justifying the complexity and cost for operations needing maximum versatility. But those early prototypes remain the weirdest versions, less refined, more visibly mechanical, and more obviously radical than later production models. Today, the Xerion proves that genuinely weird ideas can succeed when properly executed, becoming accepted despite violating conventional wisdom about how tractors should look and operate. These 12 tractors prove that agricultural equipment has room for genuine weirdness, alongside conventional designs. From screw-propelled snow machines to tractors with rotating cabs, these machines challenged assumptions and pursued unconventional solutions. Some succeeded, some failed, but all contributed to agricultural equipment's rich history of innovation and experimentation. Which of these weird machines fascinates you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you appreciate the strange and unusual in farming history, hit that subscribe button for more stories about the machines that dared to be different.